Pitfall is a brutal, intense horror thriller that caught me completely by surprise, especially since I hadn't seen a trailer or heard much information before watching the film. Going in blind allowed the tension and shock value to build naturally without any preconceived explanations. The story follows a young man who becomes separated from his friends while hiking in the woods. Tragically, he falls into a 10-foot deep pit filled with spikes, impaling his leg and trapping him in a life or death situation. What makes the premise even more terrifying is the revelation that his fall was not an accident, setting off a suspenseful chain of events that explores survival, trust, and terror. One of the most striking aspects of Pitfall is its villain. Without giving too much away, this antagonist is one of the meanest, most merciless villains I have seen in a movie in quite some time. The villain's cruelty and unpredictability ramp up the suspense and dread throughout the film, making for a deeply unsettling and brutal experience. This villain's presence isn't just a typical slasher figure. There's a psychological edge and coldness that makes every encounter nerve wracking and memorable. The acting in Pitfall deserves very high praise. The two lead actors bring a remarkable level of authenticity and emotion to their roles. Beyond just physical survival, the film invests heavily in exploring the psychological trauma both characters endure as they grapple with the horrific circumstances surrounding them. There's also past a past trauma that the two leads go through, and it's told in backstory mode. This psychological depth adds layers to the movie that separate it from many other survival horror films, which often focus solely on gore and jump scares. The backstory connected to their trauma was handled thoughtfully, allowing viewers to connect with the characters' struggles on a deeper level. Visually, the film looks stunning. The forest and wilderness setting are not only haunting but also breathtakingly shot, contributing significantly to the eerie atmosphere, especially the nighttime scenes. The natural environment adds a genuine sense of isolation and danger, emphasizing how vulnerable the characters are in this vast, unforgiving landscape. One of the most refreshing elements of Pitfall is the use of practical effects over CGI effects. In an era where many horror films lean heavily on digital effects, this movie's resilience on practical gore effects makes the horror feel raw, real, and much more impactful. The implement scenes and injuries look authentic and gruesome without feeling over the top or cartoonish, which benefits the film's dark tone immensely. Another notable aspect is the character arc involving an initially unlikable character who surprisingly emerges as one of the heroes. This is unusual for horror films where such characters are typically killed off early on in most horror movies. This twist was a smart move by the filmmakers and added a refreshing layer of complexity to the story, showing that heroism can come from unexpected places. There are a couple of minor critiques. Early in the film, we are introduced to a character who is involved in one of the gorier scenes, but this character then impeccably disappears without much explanation. This character is also at the start of the movie. Near the film's climax, there is an off screen moment that hints at the character's ongoing presence, but it is left deliberately ambiguous. This raises curiosity and could potentially serve as a springboard for a sequel where this character's significance might be explored further. Additionally, the climatic confrontation between the two main leads and the villain felt shorter than I would have liked. Given the film's intense build-up and the stakes established, a longer, more drawn-out fight scene featuring all three actors would have heightened the tension even more. The quick resolution of this battle was a minor disappointment, as I felt that there was room for a more thrilling and dynamic showdown. Despite these few points, Pitfall overall delivers a gripping, visceral horror experience. It combines stellar performances, a chilling villain, a strong psychological core, and practical horror effects to create a survivor thriller horror film that stands out in today's horror landscape. The film balances suspense and gore skillfully, maintaining an eerie and brutal atmosphere throughout without leaning too heavily on typical genre cliches. The pacing is tight and the emotional resonance makes it more than just a simple scare and gore fest. The development of trauma and resilience in the lead characters adds weight to the story, making it a memorable and somewhat haunting watch. Pitfall is recommended to horror fans who appreciate practical effects, layered storytelling, and a main villain with a real menace to the character. It's a raw, brutal, and gripping horror film that succeeds in delivering genuine scares, emotional depth, and stunning visuals and graphic gore effects. This movie is a worthy addition to the survival horror genre that showcases the power of well crafted tension and psychological storytelling. I look forward to seeing whether the hinted sequel materializes, as there are definitely some intriguing threads left unresolved. Lastly, I would like to say that this movie here in Australia has a MA rating, but I need to reassure everyone that's going to watch this movie in Australia that this movie in no way is a MA-15 rated movie. This is a hard R rated movie. So I don't know why it has a MA rating here in Australia. I think it's because there's no people that are actually reviewing these movies anymore. I think it's all done through a AI generated system, which, as you all know, isn't entirely correct. But I just need to say, if you do plan on watching this and you're under 18, just bear in mind that this is a lot gorier than your standard MA-15 rated horror movie here in Australia. I really do hope that there is a sequel that will be made for this movie, because it is hinted that there will be a sequel. Also, I'm looking forward to seeing what the director does next, what kind of movie he does next. So my review for this movie is a solid 4 out of 5 stars. It's one of my favorite movies of the year so far. If you like this sort of content, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, as I will be reviewing more horror movies in the next couple of days.